let's talk about movies, but not just the movies themselves. A war epic is China's first blockbuster since the COVID-19 outbreak, with box office already reaching $300 million now. The film, The 800, produced by the Huayi Brothers, is about a battered Chinese army platoon's heroic last stand against the Japanese forces in the 1930s Shanghai during the Second World War. This film won praise from moviegoers and critics alike after its preview screening began on August 14th, less than a month after Chinese cinemas reopened in July. Will The 800 jumpstart the broader film industry in China? Will that serve an inspiration for the movie industry around the world? Earlier, I sat down with Wang Zhonglei, who is the executive producer of the film and also co-founder and CEO of the film's studio, Huayi Brothers Media. We talked about the stories behind the film, how they achieved a box office miracle, and how movie makers have adapted to the pandemic. Take a look. Mr. Wang, welcome to CGTN.
Hi.
Congratulations, I should say. $23 million box office just during the weekend for this movie, right out of COVID-19 pandemic. Amazing.
对于这部电影，其实任何的票房可能都是可以匹配的。
For the 800, I am proud of its success at this special time. Facing the global epidemic after cinemas closed for almost 7 months, our film entered the market, and we did not have any expectations for the box office. We wanted to see how much buzz it could generate. Under normal circumstances, we compared data from the same period last year and the year before, then make a work plan and expectations. But we could not do the same thing this year. When we set the release schedule, due to epidemic prevention and control reasons, the attendance rate of cinemas cannot exceed 30%.
我们在确定档期的时候，电影院只有30%的上座的这线，就是不能超过30%。
Social distance.
Yeah， 然后还有大概那时候只有。
At that time, only 40 to 50% of movie theaters had reopened. Faced with so many challenges, we made the decision to release the 800. Therefore, we had just hoped for the best, but had low expectations. After the box office came out, our company and the whole Chinese film industry were very excited.
包括让我们自己也让整个的电影行业其实是很振奋。
Not only Chinese movie industry, but also international. I heard IMAX, their stocks raised like 10 to 15% just on Monday.
其实凭一己之力很难去改变一个行业在一个特殊时期的发展。
It is difficult to change the development of an industry during this special period by just one company. I think the power of unity is a need. Choosing such a schedule for such a movie is a common decision made by many people. We all know that when a market reopens, a strong blockbuster is definitely needed to lead the market. From the Spring Festival to now, we have several good films in stock, and they all have the opportunity to be a vanguard. However, it is not enough for a leading film to have entertainment value. It also needs to have artistic value, such as produced by IMAX technology, and have kind of a spiritual power from the film itself.
然后另外一个就是它里边的电影本身产生的一种精神的力量啊，就是说，我觉得这个可能更重要。
我们就说自己本就是做给西方诸国的一场表演，
我就正定这场战斗。
他们要保护楼梯，手一打，我们都全完了，给我马！他知道，地球打村了，兄弟们坚住！
所以最终我们决定是用800来作为一个
So finally, we decided to use the 800 to drive the market after the rescreening. Before the release, the box office of all movies in China was only 15 million RMB. We were very nervous at that time.
1500万人民币，就是所有的电影加起来，所以那个时候其实还蛮紧张的。
You've been working on this movie for more than 4 years. Now, at a critical time when the market is not clear as to how much it would be able to bring the attention and the box office, you dare to put it out there. That's amazing to me.
我们并不知道，因为那个时候并不知道疫情的发展是什么。因为我的年龄其实经过 SARS。
At the beginning, we did not know what the epidemic would become. I had experienced SARS. It was also a serious epidemic, and I was also making movies at that time. Today, both the public health standard and the national strength have improved. We did not expect the epidemic to last so long. The cinema is the latest of all entertainment and cultural facilities to reopen. Should we release a new movie? I think not only courage is needed, but also confidence is needed. Our confidence came from the quality of the film, the ability of advertising, and the demand of the market.
我觉得还是对于这个市场的这种渴求度，我们之前其实做了很多的这个市场调研。
We did a lot of market research before. From March to July, when the slogan of resumption of work was put forward, our market research results changed a lot every month. At the beginning, most people did not want to go to the cinema, zero choice in the research, and gradually they started to have the urge. In June, the entire entertainment consumer demand placed reopening cinemas third among entertainment options. So, our courage came from the market, as the audience was eager to return to the cinema and restore their social life.
渴望进入电影院，恢复到他们自己这样的一种社交生活，自己喜欢的电影的这种电影院体验感，我觉得这个勇气是来自于大家的。
I understand you are also, at this moment, very courageous in a way because the movie industry is experiencing the pandemic, while at the same time your company is also experiencing some kinds of challenge. So be able to put it out there, put yourself out there, that's also quite something.
对我来说可能会比较单纯，对于800这部电影来说，对我是很单纯，它就是一个我要实现的一个。
The 800 has a very simple meaning to me. I have worked in the film industry for almost 30 years, and there may be another 30 years in the future. I am the child of a soldier. I love war movies since I was a child. When I was young, I watched red classics. When I grew up, I also watched war movies from other countries. A few years ago, director Guan Hu told me he wanted to film the story of Sihang Warehouse. He told me his thoughts. It must be a film for peace. It must be an anti-war film. It must talk about human nature, such as how people change in 4 days because of the war.
但是他要讲人性的这个弧光，就是人在4天当中怎么因为战争发生变化。那我们就想弄。
在西北就像这条世界了，将派出其他成员他们熟悉。一个人一个名，奖励派人到这里好。
既然到了这儿，就要有必死的决心。
等我死了，你听我。
The film also gave me a lot. For example, you believe you have learned a lot by the time you are 50. Like the old saying goes, 50 knows the destiny. But eventually, you find out there are many things you don't know and challenges you cannot face. The epidemic has subverted our perceptions. Should we be weak or strong, evasive or brave? The spirit of the 800 has many similarities with current realities, which encourages us to release such a movie.
因为我们知道这部电影的投资是非常大的。
The investment for it is very large, and the film has been unable to enter the market for nearly 1 year and a half, which pressured us as a listed company, not only from the financial perspective, but also the pressure from the public. All are inevitable. But I did not want to put so much pressure on the film itself, otherwise I think it is unfair to it. Like we discussed, do I have expectations? I don't have much hope, but I have expectations. But when the expectations are surpassed, it is a sense of victory.
最开始聊的问题就是你有期望值吗？就是我没有期望值，但我有期待。那我觉得当这个期待出现的时候，就是一种很胜利的感觉。
Already feeling the victory is out there.
我觉得这个胜利已经不是拿票房来恒定的，虽然它的票房会非常的好。
I think this victory is no longer measured by the box office. Although the turnout is greater than many initially expected, the global epidemic, limited seats, and restricted sales, there are many uncertainties. But in just 4 days, a movie brought 35 million people back into the cinema. These audiences also share their movie-going experience. They spontaneously post comments on social platforms which generate buzz around the movie, and it becomes a trending topic.
他们自发的在所有的这个社交平台上在发布评论感想，然后就是激活了一个电影的最高的境界，就是它会成为一个话题。
Some suggest movie is in the hands of the beholder, of the victor. Some others suggest it really depends on how you analyze the history. I don't know to you, because you have to make a movie about history. I'm sure you give extra thoughts about that.
那我觉得电影它是一个非常特殊的，所有
I think filmmaking is a very special art form. Artists are not historians. Artists are not archaeologists. So I think artists do not have the responsibility to make movies as if they are recording history. Instead, they are turning a piece of history into a movie via cinematic methods. I think all artistic works, be it movies or plays, should have their own attitude towards history.
应该有一种自己的态度，然后在
They are completing an artistic creation in the background of history.
大概是在这个电影拍摄前的4到5个月，是当年。
So about 4 to 5 months before we started shooting the 800, I had a small lunch meeting with the head of IMAX in my hotel room.
然后他说：“哎，我们有没有再深入的一种方法去？”
The head of IMAX asked me, "Do you think we could find ways to cooperate more deeply?" I said, "We are about to make a film. Can you give us the technology for us to shoot it in IMAX?"
都给我们。
It was only about 4 to 5 months before principal photography began. We asked the cinematographer, and he was totally on board with the idea. He is already a master, so he is hoping to do something different.
IMAX 拍摄有2个很大的那个挑战。
Then we found 2 big challenges in shooting in IMAX. First, we don't have many IMAX cameras. Normally, for a big production, we use 5 to 10 cameras to shoot a scene. But there is only 1 IMAX camera at our disposal.
单机拍摄。
So it turns out that we have only 1 camera for such a big movie. The second big challenge is that the resolution of IMAX is simply too high. The image is so clear, and its wide angles are close to what human eyes see. During our trial shooting, we discovered that there can be no error when we shoot people or objects up close. The hardest part is with extras. We used a huge number of extras in this movie. So, we ended up turning all the extras into what we call character actors. For every single one of them, we gave them a backstory and a look. They had purpose in the scene. Unlike before, if their acting was not good, we just cropped the frame and excluded them, but it was no longer possible with IMAX.
你在那儿晃一下走，然后不行，我们把那个镜头的角收缩一点，把你踢出去什么的。
War movies, war epics, are really outstanding, many of them. I remember right that you were starting your movie career by a war movie with Jiang Wen, and then moving on with Feng Xiaogang, and now another one. I'm sure it, in a way, reflects personally your own growth as an executive producer.
其实所有的人没有好战。
To be honest, I think people are in fact not belligerent. The vast majority of people do not like wars. We all have a pretty good idea of what wars would bring. Wars bring cruelty, destruction, and the reversion of progress. People know this, so this leads us to the question of what role do war movies play? I think war movies play different roles in different times. For the movie The 800, I've been reading reviews of moviegoers, reviews from experts about the movie, and the historical battle depicted in the movie. I have found one common theme in these reviews. That is the role of human beings in wars. We look at wars from the perspective of the people in these wars, because we are all just ordinary people. So, when we look at other ordinary people who are caught in wars, we can sympathize with them. My personal feeling towards the movie The 800 is that the film hit pretty close to home for me. It's a movie the ordinary people can relate to. Many audiences have asked the question of what I would do if I were that person in the movie.
我会做什么？
Would I lift the gun? Would I make that shot? Would I choose to sacrifice myself to help the battle? Every reviewer said in normal circumstances, no, I would not. But at the same time, many people said if they were put in that extreme position, in that moment they might have done the same. So I think this is a special thing about war movies. They have this morale-boosting effect on people. It makes people look at death differently. It's no longer a personal demise, but instead it makes you think what your death can accomplish. When you look at death in this way, then it may become almost easy for you to choose to sacrifice yourself. I think it is worth seeing this movie if it gives you this energy.
我觉得都是非常够的。
I'm thinking about, the movie market here is huge here in China. Everybody wants to be here. So they could be your partners. They could also be your competitors. What do you make of the potential of the Chinese movie industry vis-a-vis, the others' participation?
From a strategic planning perspective, it is of course going to be very complicated. But in terms of doing work on the ground, I think we don't need to worry too much about the future. Everything is changing so fast these days, be it the greater economy or our film industry in particular. Like we said earlier, only a few years ago, we didn't think we would promote and market the movie solely via the internet. Ticket sales over the internet and now even meeting the audience is done online. We did a cloud premiere for the first time for this movie. Traditionally, we took the actors around the country to do premieres and promotions, but this time we found that we were able to replace the old ways with a new online way. So you see, we didn't plan this, but it still worked out. So I think we should focus on filmmaking itself. The more grounded we are in our craft, the further we will be able to go. On the contrary, if we spend too much energy predicting the future, it might actually slow you down in the present.
我觉得想太多未来的事情反而牵绊了你现在的脚步。
You've already laid a great foundation for all the international blockbusters, whether it's Mulan or the Tenet. They're all eager to come into this market and be shown in the theaters. Finally, before we go, I do want to ask you an important question, I think. Of course, everybody can do a lot of things, can do a lot about art and a lot about business. But it's always interesting at times how much percentage you are the artist and how much percentage you are the business person.
其实这两个我一直觉得不是非常矛盾就是说。
To be honest, I have always felt the artist and the businessman do not really contradict each other. If you only pursue art, but you have no means to make it into reality, then something is lacking here. Actually, for my current role, I'm foremost responsible for a publicly listed company. So naturally, I'm more of a businessman at the moment. I find art movies very interesting because they place a strong focus on self-expression. I have recently come to a sudden realization that I don't have to support all art movies. Since art films are about self-expression, so shouldn't my expression of myself also count?
既然你是个人表达的，就有我的表达在内。
So these days, when I choose which artistic films to support, I pick the ones that match my taste, that speak to me.
他的那个 match 到我。
Why would I produce an art film that I don't even get? That would be forgetting why I chose to do a film in the first place. Also, when you really like a project, you're able to mobilize your energy more completely. So this is the balance I have found.
能量调动的会更加充分我觉得我找到这么一个点。
Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
That's Wang Zhonglei, the executive producer of the latest film, The 800, which already grossed box office of $300 million so far.